Good morning, Evergreen Online. It's definitely feeling a lot like summer as we wind up the month of June. And this morning, we welcome you to join us at Church in the Park at Arcadia County Park, where we are enjoying some delicious pizza from Jay's Pizza in Monterey Park. Now, I know it's a warm, maybe even a hot summer day, but if you're in the area, please stop on by, if only for a moment, so that you can enjoy some time with your church family. Now, we have a lot of important announcements today, so let's just jump right in. Now, as many of you heard, we are switching to a new online giving platform this summer. The move will be from Fellowship One, our former platform, to Church Center, our new platform. And this will help us transition to a more centralized, convenient, and useful way to organize our online giving and actually our online structure. We will be closing Fellowship One in September, so it's critical that everyone switch over as soon as possible. To do so, you will need to close your existing Fellowship One giving account and create a new account with Church Center. This sounds complicated, I know, but it's actually very easy. Mitch Ebbett has graciously set up some simple instructions on our giving site, or you can view his video tutorial on our YouTube site. In order to make things easy for everyone, we'll actually play that tutorial video at the end of this online devotional service this morning. Now, please mark your calendars. Next week, we will be observing our annual Day of Rest. There will be no in-person or online Sunday services. And so we encourage you to engage in a rhythm of rest that helps you to refresh your soul, connect with God, and rest and rejuvenate your body. We'll talk more about rest in a moment. Regular services will resume the following week on Sunday, July 14th. Now, in the month of July, we will have the privilege of hearing from 4 of our missional partners. On July 14th, Asian American Christian Fellowship Campus Minister Reverend Melanie Marchow will be in our pulpit, and Tokyo missionary family Sterling Emmy, Geneva, and Elise Miller will be sharing from the stage. On July 21st, International Christian Fellowship Campus Minister Eric Wu will be in our pulpit, and Thailand I Am Global servants, the Williams family, will be sharing from the stage. It'll be a wonderful opportunity to hear from these Evergreen partners. A lunch will follow on both weeks to have additional time with both the Millers and the Williams. Now, on Saturday, July 20th at 7 p.m. in our sanctuary, we will be screening the documentary film 1946, The Mistranslation That Shifted Culture. The film follows research and discovery of Ed Oxford and Kathy Baldock, 2 longtime friends of Evergreen, who uncover a significant mistranslation of the Bible in 1946 dealing with human sexuality. Following the screening, Ed Oxford himself will be joining us for a Q&A session. Tickets are $5 online and $10 at the door. Now, lastly, I want to give you an update on Pastor Julie. Since I have to pre-record this service, all of this information is current to the time of filming, so there may be further updates. Now, Pastor Julie, as you've heard, took a fall in our recent Tijuana mission trip that resulted in a painful compression fracture on one of her vertebrae. She is currently recovering in a hospital in Chula Vista. Now, the good news is no surgery is needed. The difficult part is that recovery may take a while. So please continue to pray for Pastor Julie for pain management in her back, healing of the fracture, Julie's transfer to a rehab facility closer to home, and the Ono family as they deal with Pastor Julie's recovery. Now, if you'd like to help the family, you can participate in this meal train and either donate food for a meal or a gift card to help them purchase a meal. We appreciate all the prayers that have been expressed to Pastor Julie at this time, and we continue to ask God for her full and complete healing. Now, that was a lot, but there's actually a lot happening in our community this summer. And so now let's continue with the time of worship.
Can't go back to the beginning. forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. 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 Sing, I'm not enough. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? One more time. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again?
For the last few years, our church has been practicing an annual day of rest. That usually happens mid-year around the first week of July. Now, this is for a number of reasons. For one, it gives the staff a break from producing content. As you know, because you're watching this online devotional right now, even on the days we don't have in-person service, we still have online devotionals. Content or some sort of planned activity happens almost every week, except really for our day of rest. By coming to a full stop in our church programming as a church, it allows the staff to take a quick breath before we dive into the second half of the year. That stop is not only good for us, I believe it's actually good for the entire church. Because in that pause, we create space for God to do something. You know, sometimes our activity and routine can actually crowd out the Spirit's work. Now, each year we try to look at this day of rest from a different perspective based on whatever theme we're going through. But this year, I want us to consider this spiritual rhythm of rest as it relates to character. Now, I know, we all know, it's very difficult to rest. Sometimes it's easy to fall asleep, but it's difficult to enter into a state of rest. We fight against a culture that many times values the opposite. When someone, if you notice, is a workaholic, most of the time, if that's not hurting anyone, we don't really think that that's that bad, do we? I mean, the only time I think it's bad is if that workaholic is making me look lazy by their productivity. But if I'm honest, I find myself viewing workaholics almost as virtuous. It's even in my mind whether or not it's actually true that you would all consider having a tired, overworked senior pastor better than having a well-rested one. Now, I know it's twisted thinking, but somehow I imagine that pushing myself to the limit, one, shows that I care about you and this congregation, two, proves to myself and everyone else that I'm doing all that I physically can to make this church successful, and three, helps me to deserve my paycheck. Now, there are so many unhealthy ways of thinking in that last statement that I don't even want to go into it this morning. But maybe you find yourself thinking some of those very same things for your context, whether that be in an office, in a school classroom, or at home, maybe caregiving for a loved one. The question I want to ask you this morning is this: is being overworked a part of God's character? Is being overworked a part of God's character? Now, I don't want us to confuse work and overwork. The biblical narrative will often show God at work and in many ways talk about the value and the meaning of good work. But while good work is blessed, overwork is not. Why? Because overworking is not a part of the character of God. But I would argue that rest is. In the book of Genesis, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy because on it, he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Now, this passage is often quoted when talking about rest, and it seems obvious why. God creates the world at the beginning of time and rests on the seventh day, thereby setting a pattern for us to follow and a day of rest and worship for us to observe within that pattern. But if we consider what I talked about last week, that while Genesis is more of the chronological start of the Bible, it is the book of Exodus that's actually the theological starting point. Now, bear with me. So in other words, the Hebrews, their first encounter with God's revelation was at the burning bush and in the Exodus event, because here God reveals himself to his people for the first time. This act of liberation and deliverance in the Exodus was the first revealing of God's character. And so maybe instead of looking at these words through the eyes of Genesis, we need to look at what the seventh day was through the perspective of Exodus. So let's look at this companion passage to Genesis in the book of Exodus, chapter 31. And it says this: the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so you may know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Observe the Sabbath because it is holy to you. Anyone who desecrates it is to be put to death. Those who do any work on that day must be cut off from their people. For 6 days work is to be done, but the seventh day is a day of Sabbath rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day is to be put to death. The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath, celebrating it for the generations to come as a lasting covenant. It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed." You see, in the context of the Exodus, the seventh day is not simply a holiday or a day off. It is actually freedom from overwork. Now, set in this context, the setting of Hebrew slaves being liberated from their forced labor in the Egyptian Empire, the seventh day is a declaration and reminder that these people are no longer to be ruled by work, whether it be imposed by an empire or by our very selves. We are no longer slaves. So the seventh day preaches to us that rest is actually part of the character of God. We don't worship a God who overworks, nor do we worship a God who forces us to overwork. We worship a God who rests, and I might argue is rested. Now, can we say that very same thing about ourselves? That we are rested? Now, I would imagine that for many of us who have been influenced by our culture, we might initially consider a church community that rests to be a church that maybe isn't serious about following Jesus. They don't have service every week. They rest sometimes. But maybe the very act of resting is actually the key to a deeper understanding of who God is. And serious followers of Jesus are actually those that are serious about their rhythms of rest. Because resting is actually cultivating the character of God in us, shaping our heart, shaping our values, and shaping the way that we even treat others. Let me say that again. Through good rest, God shapes our heart, our values, and the way that we treat others. Now, that's the kind of character cultivation that I want. Don't you? So, what can you do next week when there are no Sunday activities at Evergreen? Well, I would encourage you to prayerfully consider a refreshing activity that you don't normally do on Sunday mornings. For some, that might be taking a walk or going on a hike in God's creation. For others, it might be going to brunch with some unchurched friends that you don't get to see on Sunday mornings usually. Maybe it's visiting another congregation and worshiping there. Maybe it's sleeping in for those of you who are exhausted. Or dusting off the Bible on your shelf and enjoying some kind of intimate time with God in the scriptures. Perhaps it's just being present to the family that you've been neglecting for a while. And maybe, if you typically watch services online, it's actually getting up and going to an in-person service. Although, if you're local, I definitely want you to come to our in-person service too. Now, whatever God leads you to do, we're creating space for you to be freed from some of the patterns that maybe are unhealthy and hold us captive. And we allow then the rest of God to become part of our character. Beloved, may the God of rest shape you and your character into his people of rest. Grace and peace to you for the next 2 weeks when we see you again for service on July 14th, when our very own Melanie Marchow preaches and the Miller family shares some updates about what God's been doing in Tokyo. And now, before we go, I remind you about our new online giving platform and leave you with this video tutorial from our IT director, Mitch Ebbett. We'll see you soon.
As you may have heard, we are moving to a new giving platform. In fact, we're moving our entire directory service from Fellowship One over to a piece of software called Church Center. We've been using products from the same company for a long time for service planning, and they've worked great for us. So now we're consolidating everything under one roof. It's going to make things easier on the staff, and it's also going to save us a fair bit of money. So I appreciate your help in getting everything migrated. The only thing that you need to do is, if you have recurring giving set up through our old platform, Fellowship One, you're going to need to cancel that gift in Fellowship One and then recreate it in Church Center. And this is a video on how to do that. To get started, we're going to go to ebcla.org/giving. And if we don't have any recurring gifts from the past, if we just gave one at a time, then we'll click here to give using Church Center. And we don't have to do much more than that. But if we do have a previous recurring gift in Fellowship One, we'll scroll down a little bit. And we have right here to cancel a recurring gift in Fellowship One. We'll start by logging in to the Fellowship One portal. So we'll click login, and it brings us here. We'll log in with our email and our password. I set up a little test account to demonstrate this with. If you don't remember your password or your email address that you used, you can click on Forgot here, and it'll walk you through the steps. So we'll sign in. And then we click on Your Giving. Click on this big green Give button here. And then we click on the Scheduled tab. And you'll see here my scheduled recurring gift. We had a $7 gift monthly on the 16th, starting on the 16th. And so we're going to click the trash can to stop payment, to remove that. And then click Stop this payment to confirm. And that's it. Now we can sign out of the Fellowship One portal. Now we'll go back to ebcla.org/giving and set up a new schedule, a new recurring payment in Church Center. So we can click here, click to give using Church Center. It's going to take us to the new giving portal, and we can fill out our information. $7 to the general fund regularly. Put our email address in. for Sam Evergreen. Not a real person. And click on continue. Now we have the option here. We can just continue with a credit card without logging in, but it is best to log in. This is going to help make sure that at the end of the year, when you get an annual statement for tax purposes, all of the giving history from Fellowship 1 comes over and is imported into Planning Center. So we're going to click login. We're going to make sure, by the way, to make sure that that works, to use the same email address in both. So the same email address for Church Center as we used for Fellowship 1. So we'll click login, enter our email address here. We use sam@ebcla.org. Hit next. And now it's going to send an email with a code to that email address. So I'm going to wait for that code to come in. Church Center uses passwordless authentication. There are no passwords to remember. It's more secure that way and easier. It'll send a code to your email address, or if you set it up, to your phone number. So we'll log in as Sam using the code that we just got in my email. And I can add a phone number if I'd like to. I would do that, but I'm going to skip right now. You should do that though. It'll help you log in with another method if you ever need it. So now we'll put our information back in, $7 to the general fund. Regularly, we'll do that monthly on the 16th is what we had. And set it up exactly the way we had before. You can always change it if you'd like. And now we can add a payment method, or we can just go continue with Apple Pay if you're on an Apple device. But I'll add a payment method. We can choose a credit card or a bank account. A bank account is generally better because the fees are lower, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do a credit card. I'll blur this out later. And we'll do add a payment method. This is all processed through Stripe, which is a secure payment processor. None of this goes through Evergreen's servers or anything like that. This is all very secure and as private as it can be. And then once we've got our payment information, we will click Start Giving $7 monthly. Now, actually, one thing that I would like to check is I'm going to add 46 cents to cover the processing fee. That's optional. All right, now we'll choose our payment method again. Start Giving monthly. And we're done. The recurring donation is set up. However, this would be a great opportunity to update your information, again, to make sure everything's correct on the annual statement. So we're going to click on our initials up here. It says SE. And we're going to click on My Profile and Settings, and then Contact and Profile Information. So here, we can see I have an email address already set, but I don't have a phone number or an address in here. So we're going to click Edit. We can put in a phone number. We can put in an address. I'll put in the office address. And then scroll down. We can select a birth date if you would like to. And click on Save Changes. And once your information is up to date, you can click up here again and log out, and you're done. Thank you very much for your help getting us moved over to the new system. If you need any help with this, or anything doesn't make sense, or you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email address is mitch@ebcla.org. Thanks. Bye.